achieve what you wanna see.
It's P.I.N.K TV.
It's a one-of-a-kind show. Don't let anybody tell you now. Cause if you really wanna do it, just put your mind to it. With a little bit of faith, you could go a long way. Like, yeah, 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 yeah.
It's P.I.N.K TV.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's P.I.N.K TV.
I'm gonna do it.
P.I.N.K TV friends, thank you so much for joining us. Help me give a warm welcome to Grammy Award winning songwriter Tiffany Fred. Tiffany,
Hello.
how you doing?
I'm good.
Good. So I understand that you are a songwriter.
I am.
And you are not only a songwriter, a Grammy Award winning songwriter.
I am.
But you did not always start off that way.
No.
Where are you from?
I'm from Jersey. Okay, so I was born in Spain.
What?
I know. I was born in Madrid, Spain. My father was in the Air Force.
Okay.
And I think I lived there for like 2 years or something like that.
Okay.
And then we moved to Philadelphia, where my family is from. And then from Philly, I lived in Philly for a couple years as a kid. And then most of my life, though, was spent in South Jersey.
As a youth, because honestly, like songwriting is not really something that most kids say, oh, I want to be a songwriter.
Right.
They might say, oh, I want to be an artist. I want to sing like Beyonce.
Right.
Something like that. So what gave you that push to want to get into songwriting?
Honestly, like, okay, so I've been writing since I was like maybe 12. And it was always just like poems. It was just like a little hobby by way to like create my own little bubble that I could exist in. That my parents used to always pop. Like, you know, my dad would be like, you can't live in a bubble. And I would be like, I live in a bubble now.
Let me stay.
You know, like, let me just do my thing, you know. But honestly, I didn't even think about songwriting until I got into college. I was like randomly surrounded by a lot of musicians. I don't know where they came from, but they were just always in the cafeteria singing and doing the most. And I had a friend named Blair, and he was a singer, and he was just like, yo, Tiff, like, maybe we should, like, you know, turn some of your poems into songs, and you should be like a songwriter. And I was like, what?
Word.
I was like, that's corny. I don't want to be a song. Like, I never even really thought about songwriting before that day. Like, I never really thought about the fact that songs were written, that there was people behind the scenes doing stuff, or that an artist wrote a song or whatever. I just never really thought about it. So he like dragged me to the auditorium, and we sat at the piano, and I'm just like, this is so stupid. I don't want to do this. And then he started playing, and we wrote a song called Forever and a Day that I wish I had. I can't even really remember how it goes, but that day, like a light bulb was like, poof. From that day, I started writing songs. I was like downloading instrumentals. That was when LimeWire was still popping. That was when LimeWire was still popping, and I could go on and download like my favorite like Jay-Z instrumentals, or like Dear Summer, or like Alicia Keys. I was just downloading any instrumental I can get because I didn't know any producers. And I was just like writing to them, but I had no way to record it, so I just had like notebooks of just songs.
Yeah. How did you finally get a way to make those songs from your notepads into recordings?
So, okay, so this was around the time when I was like 18, 19. And, you know, I used to live in South Jersey. South Jersey's like 20 minutes from Philly. So me and my friends would always go to the club. I became really good friends with one of the DJs at the club that I used to go to. It was called Chrome. And his name is DJ Casper.
Nice.
And then I got really cool with, you know, the hype man for the club. His name was Shiz. And so initially, it was like, you know, Casper was a DJ that was signed. I believe he was signed. Don't quote me on this because I'm not 100% sure, but I believe he was signed or working with a producer named Butter who did You Remind Me for Usher. Turns out he lived like down the street from me.
Wow.
And so like he introduced me to Butter, and you know, it was so embarrassing. Like, he introduced me to Butter, and I like walked in and was like, wow, this is what a real studio. It's like a home studio, and I'm
Yes.
just like thinking, I'm like, Mama, I made it, you know. Anything recorded, so he was just like, let me hear what you got. So I like opened up my notebook and just like sang him this song that was god awful, but whatever. So it started there, and then I have a cousin whose wife. So his wife's brother was like an engineer in New York for Bad Boy. And so he lived in Brooklyn.
Bad Boy Records.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so he lived in Brooklyn. He had an at-home studio in like Fort Greene in like the projects in like a back room. Like I'm talking like just grimy, like whatever. But you know, so basically, it was like MySpace was super popping then. So there was like a community of us, you know, young, new songwriters and producers that were on there. You know, they had MySpace music and all this other stuff. And so I met like Hit Boy. I met this producer named Jalen Wesley, an artist that used to be signed to Jive named Lee Carr, like all these different people. And so Jalen would always send me all these beats. And so I used to like hop on the train. I would take the bus to Philly, hop on like the trolley to Trenton, ride from Trenton all the way to Penn Station, get on the subway, go to Brooklyn.
You were committed.
Yo, I was young, you know what I mean? So to me it was like, oh, New York, whatever. You know how when you're young, you just want to be independent, so you don't care. I was just out having fun, you know? And so I would go to Brooklyn, like, all the time. I would stay nights up there, and I would just record in his back room.
How did you get your music out there into the
So basically what happened was there was an album out called 21, which was Omarion's, I believe it was his second solo album.
I remember that album.
Yeah, it was the one with Icebox and all of that on there, right?
Love it.
So on that album, there was a song called Midnight, which was like my favorite freaking song, right? So I'm like, dang.
Midnight.
Yeah, you better get heard your run, girl. so I looked in the credits, and I kept like every song that I really liked on that album was produced by the same people. So I kept coming up on the same people, and they were the underdogs, right? So I'm like, who is the underdogs? Like, who are these people? There's so many records that they did that I loved. And so I was like, man, I've got to find a way to get to these guys. The first thing I did was there was a phone number. So I called and was like, hey, do you guys accept unsolicited stuff? And they were like, no. And I was like, dang. So I was like, all right. And then I was like, you know what, screw this. I'm going to do this anyway. And so I clicked 3 faces. One of them was Harvey Mason. One of them was Touch. And one of them was a producer named Bluetooth. And I sent all 3 of them like a couple demos of the songs that I had been recording in New York. And like 2 days later, Touch, who actually turned out to be the publisher for the company, hit me and was like, yo, if you can come to LA for a week, you can come rock with us.
Oh my God. I have to seriously like say something there, because at first you were denied by calling.
Yeah.
But you were like, I'm not gonna just stop there. I'm gonna send my stuff out anyway and see what happens.
Because I didn't have anything to lose, you know. It was just like, I mean, they could say nothing or they could have replied. I mean, I didn't, at that point it was like I had nothing. So I had nothing to really, you know. So I was just like, screw this. I'm gonna go for it and send them my songs anyway. And I came to LA, and like I went to the Underdogs, and I mean, I thought I was blown away by that other studio. I got there, and I was like, it was like walking into a museum. You know, it was like all these plaques. It was, you know, you walk into the A room, there's this big board, and it's just like artists running all over the place and producers, and you know, it was just really overwhelming, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't write anything. I was just like wandering the halls, like peeking into rooms, like just trying to be a fly on the wall. Like I was so terrified.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy.
How did you break your fear?
Well, you know, there was a guy named Dob that was there, which I know you know. Dob is the
Dobbling.
man.
Yes.
He's awesome. And, you know, I was telling Dob, like, I think it was like a Friday. It was a day I was supposed to leave. And I was just like, man, if I don't stay here, I'm never going to make it back. And I'm never going to have an opportunity to do what I want to do. You know? And so he was like, you can either stay and take a chance, or you can get on a plane and leave. So him and I both sat there and we watched the clock go by as my flight was supposed to be taking off, and I was still sitting in the studio.
Yeah.
And I called my mom after my flight, took off, and my mom was like, "What are you doing? Did you miss your flight?" And I'm like, "I think I'm gonna move to LA." And she's like, "What? Get your butt on that plane!" She was bugging, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just, that day was the day that my fear broke, because it was just that was the first time that I feel like I made an adult decision. I think it was an adult decision and an immature decision all mixed in one, I think.
Okay.
But that was the first time that I made a decision for me and, just went for it. And so I think that was a day that my fear broke, because it was kind of like, all right, you made the choice. You here now. You gotta make it happen now.
There's no gray areas.
Right?
One
No.
thing or
Right.
another.
It's like now you either gonna sink or swim. So.
So you're at the Underdogs. You make this decision to stick it out.
Right.
And stay and write.
Right.
You write a song. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And I know this song.
Yeah.
Because I've been looking at the credits.
Yeah.
Called Invisible.
Yeah.
For Jennifer Hudson.
Mm-hmm.
What happened with this song for you?
So basically, I wrote the idea for Invisible before I moved to LA, actually.
Oh, wow.
And there's a writer there named Stephen Russell who just kind of took me under his wing, because everybody else didn't really like me like that. I was the only girl there, and I was just a pest to everyone, because they were just like, "What does this girl do? Get her out of here!" I just whatever. But Steve took me under his wing, and one day we were just sitting in the studio, and I was like, "Yo, I have this idea for this song, and it's called Invisible," and I kind of talked to him about it, and we kind of worked it out. He got on the keys, and we just kind of sat down and wrote it together. And at that time, there was a girl named Siren, who is now Melanie Fiona. Remember that, when she was Siren?
I do.
And so she was doing all of these songs up there, and so Siren recorded Invisible. And then, like I said, that was around the time, shortly after, Harvey and Damon were working on Dreamgirls. So, they were working heavy on Jennifer Hudson. Mm-hmm. And so Harvey played the song for Clive. Clive loved it.
Clive Davis.
Clive Davis, yeah.
Nice.
And she did it. And, yeah.
And that won you your
First Grammy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you.
So with this Grammy win, I know some doors must have opened for you after that.
Yeah.
Where did it take your career from there?
I mean, honestly, I don't really think it's where it took my career. I think it's what it did for me, because music was the only thing I never quit. If you talk to my mother, she's always was like, "I was so worried about you because I knew you were never going to have a conventional job, and I just didn't know how you were going to take care of yourself." So, literally every little part-time job I had when I was a kid, I got fired from, because I just don't like rules. I want to do my own thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I think what the Grammy did for me was show me it was possible, right? It was kind of everything happened really quickly, but that was just look, I feel like it was just God that was just showing me look, you can do this, and I'm going to show you that you can do this very quickly, so that when it gets hard, you have something to look at that is proof that it's possible.
That makes me want to ask you too, because it's once you have a hit record.
Right.
Congratulations, by the way, on Zendaya. She got 100 million plays on YouTube.
Yes, I was so excited.
Tiffany Fred wrote Zendaya's song Replay. Congratulations, girl.
Thank you.
On that. So once you write a big record like, say, Replay, is there an expectation
Absolutely.
for you to deliver a record
Yes.
of that magnitude again?
Yeah, and it's this window that's really small, because once you get that, you're like, okay, I got to do this again right now. And most of the time, there's no way to know what song is going to win and what song isn't. I don't care how big the artist is. There's tons of ginormous artists who have songs that don't work, so I don't think you could ever be prepared for, or prepared enough for, a song to just skyrocket, so yeah, it was a lot of pressure. It was so many people so are you working on Zendaya's new album? What's this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So are you, and people think oh, you got money, I was so broke when that song was on the radio.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, yes, I'm broke. Replay. You know, like I was in a rough place in my life when that song, you know, was playing. You know, and so, yeah, you know, you have people looking at you like, oh, you've made it. You know, everybody. I guess everyone measures success differently.
Differently, yeah.
You know, and for me, though I think that that's an accomplishment, I don't measure my success by how many songs I have on the radio, you know? So, you know, when you've got all of these people, and this business is full of smoke and mirrors, so, you know, everybody comes out the woodworks that didn't believe in you, you know? And it's like, hey, and you're like,
where were you when I had that $5?
Where were you at? You wasn't shooting with me in the gym. You know, like, it's just, you know, and I think it takes a special person to not be angry, to be humble, to understand, to play the game, to understand that you're only as valuable as what you have right now. And so it's like that, what have you done for me lately? You know? And so, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of pressure once you have something like that. I mean, it's great. It's a great ride. But yeah, it's a lot.
If there's someone like a young girl right now that's around the age you were when you started out, maybe 19, 18, 20, who wants to follow in that same path that you're doing, she wants to be a songwriter.
Right.
She wants to break in.
Right.
What advice would you give her? Or him?
One, I think you gotta understand it is so much bigger than you. My experiences are what inspire my music, you know, and you gotta understand that you feed the world. You know, yeah, it's great to sit in front of cameras and do all this stuff and have fun and, you know, buy cool stuff and travel and all that other stuff, but, you know, there's someone who's going through something that, you know, your song might, you know, you might save someone's life. Go through stuff and fall again and fall some more and get walked on and fall some more and get up and fall again and then think you finally made it and then fall even further, you know, because that's just how it is. You signed up for a roller coaster. There's this business, especially now, music has changed so much than when I first started even, you know, like, iTunes Radio, Spotify, the way we make money in this business now is so different, you know? And so sometimes it's very hard in the beginning and even in the middle to have a consistent income. So you've got to be smart with your money when you get it. It's a lot of pressure once you have something like that. I mean, it's great. It's a great ride. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Tiffany, your story is truly amazing.
Thank you.
And I know someone is seriously going to benefit from everything you shared today.
Thank you.
P.I.N.K TV fans, I just want to thank you guys so much for joining us again. This is Tiffany Fred. Look out for her. Some more hits are coming.
Yay.
And thank you guys so much for watching P.I.N.K.